Hari Om. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om Sinduraruna Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya Maulisfuratharanayaka Shekharam Smitamukhi Mapina Vakshuruham Panibhyam Maripurna Ratna Chashakam Raktotpalam Bibhratim Saumyam Ratna Ghatastha Rakta Charanam Dhyayet Param Ambikam. Om Dhyayin Nityam Mahesham Rajatagirinibham Charuchandravatansam Ratna Kalpojvalangam Parashumrugavara Bhitihastam Prasannam Padmasinam Samantat Stutamamaraganaihi Vyaghrakritim Vasanam Vishwadyam Vishwabijam Nihilabhayaharam Panchavaktram Trinitram Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaham partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham geetamritam mahat. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaham mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. Shri Bhagavan uvacha klaibyam asmagama partha naitattvayupapadyate Shudram hridaya daurbalyam yakyati stri parantapa ashocyan anvashocastvam pragyavadanscha bhashase gatasu nagatasunscha nanushocanti panditaha natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipaha न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम् देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदाः आगमापायिनो अनित्याः तान् स्थितिक्षस्व भारत अविनाशी तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति अन्तवन्त इमे देहा नित्यस्योक्ता शरीरिणः अनाशिनो अप्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत य एनं वेत्ति हन्तारम् यश्चैनं मन्यते हतम् उभौ तौ न विजानीतो नायं हन्ति न हन्यते न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यं शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि यन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्यते न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि. Right, that is where we stop. Namaste. Welcome, everyone. So, we had actually gone to one verse after that, I think. We started Avyaktadini Bhutani. So, anyway, perhaps a good place to start is to just go over 27 and 28. And then we will sort of proceed in a fashion from there on. So, Jatasihi Dhruvo Mrityu Mrityuhu Dhruvam Janma Mritasya cha Tasmad Apariharye Arthi na Tvam Shochitum. So what did we, does anyone remember what we discussed last time in the context of this verse? Death is indeed certain for one who is born, and for one who dies, birth too is certain. Therefore, as regards this unavoidable sequence, you ought not to grieve. So, the first part is evident, right? By observation. In our daily life, we observe things that are born, die. Right? What about the second part? Actually, you cannot be sure of this. Yeah? Can you be honest? Can anyone be sure of this? No. And that's the main thing I want to bring in our reading of the Gita, is to be very honest with one's realm of experience. Right? The ultimate goal is, of course, to have anubhavam of what the Lord is speaking about. And that's indeed possible. But we have to be very honest with how it reflects in our mind. Right? Now, the goal of that honesty is then it can have two consequences. One is, of course, one can reject it entirely and throw the book and walk off. That's obviously not the recommended path. But with faith, then one betakes on oneself to understand it, right? In a deeper and deeper fashion as we go progress in this path. Correct? So the second experience in one tradition, we already heard of someone, Jesus, could, in the Christian tradition, honestly claim to say that, yes, after death, rebirth is possible. He mentioned that, right? That is the whole idea of the resurrection. And that is why probably so many millions and millions of people are moved by that. But I also mentioned to you that, what else did I say in the Vedic Indian context? From our perspective, is it surprising?
After 84 births, we are human beings.
Pardon me?
Is it 84? After 84 births, like we are
Yes. So I said, yes, I did mention this business of 84 crore birds, right? That comes the Viveka Chudamani. But what I was saying is, to our brought up in Sanatana Dharma, is this a surprising event for us? The narration of the resurrection of
It is
Jesus.
surprising in a sense that in the same body.
Yeah, sure.
So we, like, I think in day-to-day conversations, even we say that we take rebirth.
Right.
Don't realize it, but we say it.
Right.
And but not in
In
that sense, the body dies. So for sure, we
I think what you mentioned that in previous classes is that it is not surprising because so many people on this land in Bharat, they have achieved or they have experienced this reality, and then they have articulated it through various means. So that's why we are aware of that from the Shastra.
Right. Thank you, Viraj. Maybe can you? I don't know if everyone online can hear your speech, but could you repeat one more time?
Yeah. So I think what we discussed in the previous classes is that this fact is not surprising to us because many people whom we call rishis in the land of Bharat have achieved and experienced this personally, and then they have articulated it in various forms in our Shastra.
Yeah. Is that okay? Anyone disagrees with that? It's a fact, right? This is not an unusual occurrence. If you read, now this is the point. You may not be aware of all the texts that describe this, but that cannot be surely attributed to the tradition, right? So Parakaya Pravesha is a well-known yogic siddhi and attributed to Sri Adi Shankaracharya. You can read, if you read Yoga Sutra or you read the Shiva Samhita, these are all described in these texts, right? So in our tradition, it is quite normal, right? But normal doesn't mean that it is easily accomplished. They're not the same thing, correct? So the truth is that in the yogic practice, so one way to experience this, what is termed samadhi is the experience of death while in the same body. Okay? So, to any of the yogis and rishis who have attained samadhi, they know this well, that after dhruvam janma mritasya, right? But that experience is not easily available to all unless they perform the necessary rigorous practices that lead to that state. Correct? Right? So this is important to understand, that this is not some fictional stuff, right? But if you walk the path, you can experience it. Right? But the question is, obviously some effort is required, right? Nothing is gained without effort. Right? So that is the way to understand this verse. So therefore, one of two options then will, or two or three options may arise to the aspirant's mind. Now, first thing is, well, actually four. Like I said, the first case is one could say, well, I don't believe it, and walk away from it, right? And that's fine. There is nothing in our tradition that says you have to be bound and you must feel. That's why I asked you to do the assignments. Now you understand. I want to gauge what is your level of interest. I don't want to drag you into something that you don't want, right? So that was the whole purpose of, but of course it turns out that even completing those assignments was a great challenge for many of you. But nevertheless, we are slowly learning. Everyone is learning. So the second approach one can take is that, okay, I provisionally accept it. This is probably true for most people. Yes, it is the word of the Lord. I am brought up in this tradition. I believe it. And I will listen more. I will try to find out more within my normal day-to-day activities, whatever time I can set aside. A third approach could be then that actually this is possible. This is in the realm of my experience. I can do this. Okay. Then one higher level is, not only can I do this, I must do this. Okay. There's a difference, right? So the goal of this invitation in our Sanatana Dharma is for everyone to begin to read, begin to learn, begin to open the mind to possibilities. Correct? That's all there is, right? There is nothing that says the first category is it's fine, that's okay. But if you have, that's why I said, right, Shraddha, is there faith? Right? Is that faith provisional? Is it unconditional? That depends on you. That depends on the state of the mind. And depending on the state of the mind, the fruits will be obtained. Right? All I can tell you is that if you feel I must do this, you will gain the fruit. There is no doubt about it. It is just as night follows the day. Right? And that somehow seems very inexplicable, but it's not. So that is the meaning of this verse. And that is why the Gita is riddled with these things that are both in the realm of our experience and then stretching our conception of the realm of our experience. Right? So it's a truly it's a work that truly expands your horizons. Right? So that is why it's a very powerful and important work. Acha. So now, the next verse is also very, very interesting. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharatam avyakta nidhananyeva tatraka paridevana. So this concept of avyakta is unmanifest. Now, unmanifest is not nothingness. It is not void. Manifest and unmanifest. Unmanifest does not mean void. It doesn't mean nothingness. It means not manifested yet, right? Like let us say, in a sense, it is latent. So how shall we say a good example? They say one can say in a sense that fire is latent in wood. Okay, meaning that wood is not nothing. Given the right conditions, fire can arise in it. Correct? Okay. In that sense, we say fire is latent in wood. Sometimes you see a person who looks very healthy, but they carry the seeds of some disease in them already. Then suddenly sores break out, and it is latent. It is unmanifested yet. Correct? So this is a way to understand this notion of avyakta. So what he is saying is, here I think Shankaracharya's bhashya will be interesting. So let us read. Avyakta, that is unperceived or unknown, is the beginning of beings such as one's sons, friends, etc. These seem to be nothing but bundles of means and effects, organs and bodies. But their appearance in time, before their appearance in time, these beings are unmanifest. Having appeared, their intermediate state till their death is manifest. Again, their end in death is unmanifest, that is unperceived. The idea is that after death, they arrive at a state of unmanifestedness. So it has been affirmed in the Mahabharata, Sri Parvam 213, he has come from an unseen state and has returned to that state again. He does not belong to you, nor do you to him. Why then this vain lament? In these circumstances, where there is room for lamentation or vain speech as regards beings whose very essence is a delusion, who are unseen, then seen, and finally wiped out. So in these circumstances, where is the room for lamentation? This is the idea. Right? So this is Shankaracharya's statement. Let us look a little bit at another maybe interesting. So meanwhile, any questions on this? Is it puzzling? It's a little puzzling, right? It's something not that you're used to. But at the same time, in our practical experience, it's not contrary to, right? You take any one person you can think of. For the physical body, you may attribute there was a seed, it started, the child was born, etc., etc. But nevertheless, the appearance of that personality and then the disappearance, there is a lot that seems to come from unmanifested, manifest, and then back to unmanifested. So let us see if there is some interesting things we can learn here. Uh-huh. So, another way to look at this. So, when we have all emerged from the same source, and will return to the same source, right, and exist even now in the same source, right, why this feeling of difference and not loving everyone and everything? Right? Something to think about, correct? So the reason, what is the reason? The difference arises because there are these things called gunas that play with the gunas. So what are these gunas? Does anyone remember? Now, guna in a common word means quality or attribute. But in this context, it has a very specific meaning. In Sankhya Yoga, guna has a very specific meaning. So, and in the whole of Bhagavad Gita, when he says guna, anyone know what they are? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, right? So these terminology you have to become familiar with. Sattva, as I said, is that quality or attribute guna which leads to illumination, light. Rajas is that quality of passion, desire, things that an outward moving energy. Tamas is a more lethargic, slow, maybe tending to ignorance and darkness, right? These three qualities animate all of creation: physical, living and non-living, mental. All that one can think of in the manifest is animated by these three qualities, and their interplay is what leads to the now another way to think of this is, how does the day is the flowering of the seed that starts in the night, right? Night, there is unmanifest. Every time the day starts, there is manifestation. Before that, you don't know, right? And then again, what happens at the end of the day? Does the day continue forever? No. It goes back into unmanifest, right? World doesn't exist when you sleep. You don't know that it exists, right? What guarantee is there when you go to sleep that you'll wake up and the world will be there? Are you sure? You're not sure. You have nothing to be sure about. You could wake up in Mars, or you could wake up in a green planet, or right? But somehow, peculiarly, we wake up again and again in the same place. That really should be cause for wonder, right? So this is also an example, you may say, of manifestation. And so this avyakta is the vyakta in a potential form, just like night is day in potential form, right? And now slowly the cycling through the day and night, it purifies the mind, and the mind is directed in the right path to then see what is that which is the fabric underlying both the unmanifest and the manifest. So this is some things to think about. So and there is a analog in yoga which is called this pravritti and nivritti. Yeah,
When you
Chetas.
sleep, you don't unmanifest.
What is
You're
that?
still there.
Huh?
Like to go wake up in a different place. You don't unmanifest when you sleep. You're still there. You're
How-
still manifested. You're just resting.
How do you know that you're still there?
Well, because people can see you.
But how do you know they can see you? Only after you wake up, you know that they were seeing you, right?
Yeah.
So at that instant, how do you know that the world
No,
exists?
you don't.
You don't, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. At that instant, you don't. But it's a good question, and these are things that are good to ponder on. Very good. Yeah. So that is one way to make sense of this verse. I thought it may also be a good time to review some of our assignments. Yeah. Can we see the? Oh, oops. I might have not brought my computer this time by mistake. Viraj, you can try it on your tablet, maybe. We can't do it on this thing. It will be too dangerous because it's doing other things.
So, where is the presentation? Is it?
It is in class.
So you want to go on the classroom?
Yeah. So, basically, what did I want to review? In the second assignment, there was this question of, which unfortunately the video that went away, right? Some of you, by the time you got to that Chinmayananda video, it became unmanifest. So, thank you.
I didn't get perturbed by it.
Pardon me?
I didn't get perturbed by it.
You didn't get perturbed by it. No, I was thinking to. Actually, I should go to. Sorry, I made a mistake. Probably go to drive.google. Do we know how to access? Can you access the files on? Yeah. So if you go to your drive and classroom. So anyway, that basically you watched that video, and the question was, what did you get from it? Right? Many of you wrote some very interesting things, but particularly one response was interesting, so I thought I would share that with you. Oops, sorry. It's week 7. No, how do I know which one that is? Is that this must be? Yeah. That's all. Can we display that?
Yes.
So as I mentioned earlier, this class is very similar to my classes at the university, and I encounter many similar responses, right? So I thought I would share some things with you. You can scroll to the next one. Yeah. So in the university class, I always have to tell them, we'll use Canvas to post assignments, announcements, communicate with the class. You must learn how to use Canvas. Okay. Instructor and instructional team will not be responsible if you do not check Canvas. Okay. A similar caveat. We'll use Google Classroom to post assignments. You must learn to use Google Classroom. Instructor and instructor will not be responsible if you do not check Google Classroom. Right. Okay. But I think many of you are, and it is very useful when you respond. I'll be very honest with you. I'll tell you why. Because I cannot teach into a vacuum, right? If I know your intentions, your state of how busy you are, how much time you have, what is your goal, then it's easier to tailor. See, when I teach classes at the university, some students come, they want to only go and practice as an engineer. Some of them don't even want mechanical engineering degree. They actually want a business degree, but they ended up in the wrong class, right? And they will honestly remember, my parents sent me, I have to get through this thing. I just want to clear. So how can I teach them as if I want to teach somebody who wants to go to graduate school, right? The calibration has to be broad, right? So I'm trying to find out from you, what is your intention? Right? So that was very useful. So yes, next one, I will send them this. There'll be a quiz on the prerequisite material. You must pass this quiz in order to continue with the class. If you fail the quiz, you have to complete a remedial assignment. Okay. So here, there was already a quiz if you didn't know it. And if you did not complete, you need to do so in order to continue in the class, which you did. And this is the remedial assignment. Okay. So, next one, last one, I think last instruction. If you fail the quiz, which happens a lot in my regular class, then I tell them I'll provide you the correct answers to the questions. At least you should learn to memorize the correct answers, right? So it's a very generous way we teach, gentle. So same thing here. Here there are no correct answers. But what is useful is looking at why I bring to you the reflections of other students in the class is it's very beneficial actually. Sometimes we learn from another viewpoint. So from time to time I'll try to do that. Of course they're anonymized. So, but still is very, I think, useful. So here was one. I thought this was an interesting response. There were quite a few responses. So watch video. I agree with, so the student responded, summarize your reaction. I agree with what Swami Chinmayananda ji has to say. A student can listen to as many lectures or can read as many texts, but unless the knowledge that is within the source is transmitted, it is useless. So he mentions the mechanism of knowledge transmission in a humorous way, that the words have to be spoken with right volume in a certain way. This I highlighted. One thing that is not mentioned in the video is the student's willingness to receive the knowledge, which I think also plays a very important part in the knowledge transmission. So it was spot on. It's a very profound insight, and that's kind of why I wanted to know, how important is it to you? How important is it? Do you think it should be, etc.? How was it? So I think this was very useful to see this kind of a thing. So now here are also some reflections. I'll give you some feedback too. So what I would say is, here we are all having mature adults. So we want to have, all of us strive for a consistency in thought, word, and action. It doesn't happen perfectly every time, but we would all like to be consistently think one thing, say that thing, and do that thing, right? So let's look at the different levels. Some of you said, I will give anything. And I said, I'll ask something of you, right? The pariksha. I won't tell you what it is. Are you willing to give? Right? Some of you said, I'll give anything. And then you did the assignment also, right? So this means you can proceed to the next level. There's no problem with this class. The second says, I will give anything, but did not do the assignment even. Okay. So now you have to question yourself. Your intention is all one way, very good. Where is the translation? I'm going to ask these hard questions of you, because somebody has to ask you these hard questions, right? So if you fall in that category, then you must complete the assignment. Otherwise, I'm not blaming you about anything, but you've not expressed to me a consistency in willing to give me anything, but they're not even willing to do the assignment. I'm not asking for much. So you must be careful what you commit to. Third one is, they could not commit without knowing what is asked. Then some of you reflected on what is asked and they said, yes, I'm committed, willing. That was also checked. Then you can complete the assignment, proceed to the next level. No problem. The last one could not commit. So if you cannot commit, then you should find another teacher or class. Right? If you cannot commit to the basic things that I asked, the Ananta Vratam, Sanatana Dharma, Ved Matas, Raksha, and doing the assignments, then your time will probably be better spent with another teacher. No problem. Right? In my class also, when I teach classes at university, there are many sections. So some students like other sections. So not a problem. They can learn somewhere. They can learn the same material, right? So that is what I'm saying. Now, concerning the objectives of the student, right? So, which was the next assignment. So let us see here. I'm sharing with you some of the responses for the objectives. So in this assignment, they were asked, what are your objectives, right? At the end of the class. With the Gita class, I am hoping to gain even better understanding of the subject and to see things from a different perspective so that it will help in my spiritual practice. Very nice. Knowledge about how to live life and find a new perspective to life. Gain knowledge about history of India. That's interesting. A clear understanding of my dharma, swadharma. First get conviction, then experience, and finally internalize that physical and mental form is transient and Atma is eternal. Atma hi amarta, sharir hi nashvarta. It should become my knowledge and not just a piece of information. Inculcate the habit of acting in accordance with dharma. I used to spend more time on study of Gita and meditation a while ago. Of late, I am not able to spend that much time. Even when I try to study or meditate, I feel that my brain is racing and rushed and not able to slow down. My primary goal is to get back into that groove. And then a shloka by Adi Shankaracharya is very nice. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktihi. So for me, attending this course is the first step. Satsanga. Very true. This is a very brilliant statement, actually. So if you go and read any of our great scriptures, satsang is the first step. Association with the wise is the first cause of all progress. Any dramatic progress is made through that first satsang. If you go and read Tripura Rahasya, again, they'll emphasize the very first mechanism for progress is that. So you see so many beautiful things we hear when we listen to other viewpoints, which may not be articulated in the regular meeting. So that is why I value your responses. Now you see why I'm saying? It makes the class much richer. So I hope you will all commit to responding. There will not be many of these assignments. There are just a few, okay? And hopefully it will not take too much of your time. The next one. I want to perceive the basics understanding of Gita from this class so I can dig deeper when needed and relate it to my personal life. Very practical and nice, right? I hope to memorize at least a few verses from the Gita. The Saturday class is also greatly helping me understand the Lord's words. Listening to the discussions in this class is enabling me to understand people's perspectives and their challenges. Saturday class is strengthening my will to continue the study of the Gita and to discuss the teachings outside of the class too. So this is an interesting thing that many people face, particularly a younger generation, that here they are frequently called upon to explain what being a Hindu is, what it means. And so a lot of them benefit, particularly younger generation. It gives them a window into, how they may also explain and present their viewpoints. Apart from understanding the subtleties of the text and its inner philosophy, I hope to get hold of the right terminology to use to describe the seemingly abstract concepts in Gita to other people who may have some background in Hinduism, however, due to some layers of ignorance, may not be able to connect to the abstract ideas. I think the examples you use, analogies you give, and the terms, both Sanskrit and English, you use are very much appealing to me, not only to clearly understand it for myself, but to be able to reevaluate and apply it to more worldly, profession-related or family-related challenges. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Glad to hear that. And okay, now here are two challenges, I will say, from the teacher's viewpoint. So first of all, this reflection I'm trying to do fast. Know what you have to learn, how difficult it is, and recognize how important it is, and are willing to put in the commensurate effort. So this is the think about this. So when a student comes, first thing is you have to know what you have to learn. Is it a book on accounting? I don't teach accounting, but I'm assuming there's a book on accounting, right? So you have to know what is in the topics in the book, right? That is, you have to know what there is to learn. Second thing, how difficult it is and how important it is, right? And then there is another part. Student has to know, am I willing to put in the commensurate effort? Correct? Do you agree with me? So now let us do a little recollection. Last time or one of these past things, we said, I gave you two analogies as to how important it is. Do you remember the two analogies? You all filled out, you said you ranked your importance. Then I said, okay, that's good, but let me give you an example of why I think it is very important.
So, like, I didn't remember the analogy as such, but the influence was that what matters when you are on your dying moment.
Yes.
And compared to everything else.
Right. So the analogy was
how
a race.
How you end the race.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
right.
how you,
so I said a lot of you have run races. Everybody has run a race as a kid. At the end of the race, in order to complete the race, you have to do something. Like you have to cross a line, or you have to breast the tape if you're on a very high-level sprint. And that action is very important, because if you don't complete that, by the rules of the race, you have not completed the race. Even if some people run around the end posts and get disqualified, right? So if we think of our life as a race, what are you going to do at that last instant is important. And that's what Gita is talking about. Because suppose you put a lot of effort in 99% of the race, but the last act you don't do correctly, then the effort is wasted, right? One would think logically, yeah. Then there was another analogy I gave you. Do you remember the next analogy? Now that I jogged your memory about the first one.
About going through different levels of the parking lot.
Yes, going through different levels of the parking lot. Exactly. Right. So one student answered this very beautifully. Every time you go into a parking lot, you'll come to a fork. One direction says park, one says exit. If you take the park fork, you cannot exit, right? You can only look for more parking. It may take you to the next level. Then again, you'll come to a fork, park or exit. I told you there are 7 levels at least. Saptalok above, 7 below also. Hopefully you don't descend into the parking lot. That is even harder. Really. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala. Below. Above. Bhur Bhuvasva Mahajana Tapasya. Right? This is not fiction. You can bring heaven onto earth itself. Right? Now, these Vedic practices and kriyas will only take you as far as Varga. 3 levels up. And then, again, they will descend back through these levels, right? So, you didn't ask me one very important question. So, what should I do at the last moment? So, I also told you why is it very important? It's urgent also. Why is it urgent?
Because we never know what is the last one.
When is the last moment? I asked a very famous physician in our midst, can you guarantee that I'll be here next week? He said, I can't guarantee that you'll be here next instant. Right? So, it's important and it's urgent. So immediately you should have asked me. So I'm trying to improve the quality of your questioning also. Right? You should have said, I may not see you next week. Please tell me now what I should do at the last instant. You should have expressed good faith in my transience also. Right? Anyway, no problem. I will not take it amiss. So, what is that? So, I will tell you now. At the instant of departure, the most important thing to keep the mind on is the pranava. You know what is pranava? Pranava is Om. Okay. Now, alternatively, for some people who are not, they are given mantra diksha. There are 3 very important mantras. One is called Panchakshari, 5-syllabled mantra. Another is called Dvadashakshari, 12-syllabled mantra. Then another one is called Shodashakshari, right? 16-syllabled mantra. These mantras are given usually by Guru Diksha. At the time of departure, the mind should be on the Ishta mantra, right? In our Apara Kriyas, in the Vedic system, when the person comes to be ready for the time of departure, in the old days, they knew that the time is coming, right? So first thing what they would do is they would go take a bath, snan. If they could not take the bath themselves, they would give money to some Brahmins to go take the bath or on their behalf. There is also something called mantra snanam. Snanam can be done in many ways. Physical water, but then prokshanam or mantra snanam. Then they would give in charity, dan. Whoever is around, they would disburse many gifts. Then finally, the son, ideally, would place father or mother's head in the lap, and they do something called Karna Mantra Japam. That is, in the ear, they will say the Ishta Mantra. So that at the time of departure, Prayana Kale, the mind is directed to the exit, not to park. Again. Does that make sense? So that the mind knows exit, not park. If the mind were to go towards worldly things, like, oh my God, what happened to my 401k, or how shall I bequeath the last investment to my 3rd son, or why has the 5th daughter-in-law given birth yet? That is spark again. Right? So at least at the last instant, exit sign should be presented. Right? So this is the whole point of Karna Mantra Japa. So, just questions, right? Questions. Improve important questions. So, very good. Now, this is natural. So, what happens is usually when you approach this text, you have had some experience. You have some preconceived notion, right? You're coming in with this. Actually, some of my past students from past satsangs used to, one of them said a very beautiful thing. She said that when I first came to these meetings, I used to be full of questions. I used to ask questions all the time. And they were all from my perspective, because I come with some perspective. Then she said, slowly I started to listen. And I framed my questions more carefully. Right? And that was a very dramatic and beautiful insight she gave. And that's really what happens, And that requires you to actively engage with what is presented, right? So, for instance, let me give you an example. First, I told you we had a discussion. I said, what is the definition of Sanatana Dharma? And nothing very tangible came out, so I gave you a provisional definition. And then I said, think about this. Then after I said, you should have asked a very good question, because there is a word Rita that comes there. Ask, what does that mean? So you have to approach this with a fresh mind. You may have heard this word Rita 1,000 times, but you have not figured out what it means. So if somebody is using it, you must ask, well, what does that mean? Now, some of this may be impediment. This relates to another question that gentleman asked last time, very pertinent question. He said, do I need to really know Sanskrit to penetrate this text? It's a very good question. So the truth is no. Actually, you don't. You do not need to know Sanskrit to learn anything. And as I said, this deep inside, this is an unlearning rather than a learning. There are many saints who did not know Sanskrit at all, but had the divine experience, and then later were able to also expound that knowledge. That knowledge is deep within you. It is not anywhere outside. But through reading this, it opens up the gates to that deep knowledge. Now, and coming back to this point earlier I made, I talked a little bit about samadhi as an experience, right? Now, samadhi by itself is not the goal, okay? Because samadhi can be had through certain herbal preparations also, okay? Patanjali points out. What is important is that it should then be connected to the jnana, the wisdom, right? So samadhi without jnana is pointless. There are many people who have such experiences, okay? And you can see them babbling on the internet, right? It doesn't make no sense, right? On the flip side, simply reading jnana in the books intellectually without experience, anubhava, samadhi will render a learned parrot. Those also you can see a lot of, okay? That is why in our text it says, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. These are the characteristics of the Guru. Shrotriyam is this definition of Shrotriyam. Janmana Brahmano Vidyat Samskaraihi Dvijam Uchyate. Vidvatvat Vipratvam Tribihi Shrotriyam Uchyate. So, Janmana, from birth one is called a Brahmin. Through birth, by the instrument of birth in the Fright family is called a Brahmin. Samskarahi, by the Upanayana Samskar, he is called twice born, Dvijam Uchyate. Through the Vidvat, through learning the Ved and his facility and ability, it is called, one is called a Vipra. When all three are present, that is person is called a Shrotriya. But literally Shrotriya means he who is worth listening to. Okay, but it means a very specific thing, one who has knowledge of the Ved, right? So that and Brahmanishtam, that is both Anubhava and Gyan have to be coupled. So when we start this process, the reason why I introduce all the scriptural texts is you will have that Gyan base, right? So when the experience happens, it will be beautifully transformative, you know. It will not render the person to be incoherent or disturbed in some way, right? It will be a beautiful transformation. It will be literally like a flower blooming. That is the purpose. So that is why the two, Anubhava and Gyan, both are important, right? So this is the first step here. Okay. So now so then this business of Sanatana Dharma. So again, sometimes the question comes, okay, you gave a definition of Sanatana Dharma. That's very difficult. It has got all kinds of terms in it. Can you give me something simpler? Right? I encounter this in my classes also. Now, I'll give you a simpler explanation. Last time, one of the gentlemen had a question like this. You know, I've listened to Sanatana Dharma, but I still don't understand what I'm committing to. It's a genuine question. So let me give you even simpler version of Sanatana. What is Sanatana Dharma? Okay, in the Vishnu Sahasranam, some of you are familiar with it? Vishnu Sahasranam, it's a fairly common, Sotram, Vishnu Sahasranam. So in that, there is one part of the verse that goes, Pavitranam Pavitramyo Mangalanam Cha Mangalam. Correct? Mangalanam cha mangalam. What is mangalam?
Auspicious.
Auspicious. So of all the auspicious things, the auspiciousness in the auspicious thing is Sanatana Dharma. Right? Mangalanam cha mangalam. So if you are not able to understand Rita and living in harmony and everything, you have an idea of what is good for the world, what is auspicious. What is the auspiciousness? That is Sanatana Dharma. That thing which is auspicious in all auspicious things, right? Another place, if you're familiar with Aditya Hridaya. So I'm telling you these because these are things that a lot of people will be more familiar with, right? So in Aditya Hridaya Stotram, it is Sarva Mangala Mangalyam, Sarva Papa Pranashanam, right? Sarva Mangala Mangalyam. That is, of all the auspicious things, whether it doesn't matter whether you are Hindu or Christian, you know in your heart of heart what is auspicious, right? When you see something, when the greater good is accomplished, it is auspicious, right? Will you agree with me? Is anyone a doubt as to what is auspicious and what is not auspicious, right? So that essential feature of that auspicious thing is the Sanatana Dharma, right? So Sanatana Dharma can be happening in any part of the world, in any part of the universe, right? It's not restricted to Bharatvarsh. But in these day-to-day verses that you were taught probably, or you listened to in your home, the truth was there, right? Sarva Mangala Mangalyam. Simple and or Mangalanam cha Mangalam. That is Sanatana Dharma. So then don't worry about all the other stuff that I said. Just be. So now can you commit to that? Would you not want auspicious things to happen in the world for the greater good of the... Nobody would not want that. Of course you would want that. Everybody I know here would want that, right? So then it's very easy to commit. So these things are, I'm trying to give you in a more simple way, right? Okay. So another question. Last time we had some very good questions, right? So one was, and I'm paraphrasing here because the question sort of only a part of it. I mentioned this Upanayana Samskar is how Hindus do the Vrat, or we testify our allegiance to the Sanatana Dharma, etc. So then the question is, well, I may not have had Upanayana Samskar, one. Two, I had Upanayana Samskar, but nobody explained this to me, so what should I do now? A fairly legitimate question. So all that is fine, what should I do now? Very good question. And sometimes there may be a feeling, quite often, that I was deprived of access to this knowledge. Has anybody felt? I hear this from time to time, that somehow something in my life went wrong. I didn't get this, the benefit of this. Okay, I'll give you a humorous story. It's not a story, it's a hypothesis. And you can prove or disprove it, okay? So you think I know a little bit more about Gita than you, right? Just a little bit. Okay. So I'll give a hypothesis how this comes about. So in my family, when I was 5 years old, in the south, there's something called palade. Palade means it's a device by which you put things into children's mouth, usually like medicines or even nice things, right? It's a feeding device. So at the age of 5, my parents ground the Gita into a juice, poured it in the palade and gave it to me. Okay? That's why I know all this. Do you believe it? Good. The kid straight away said no. Yeah. So very good. Obviously not, right? Uncle is saying all kinds of bad stories. Tall stories. It is a tall story. Correct. You're right. Your intuition is right. So what is the point I'm trying to make? Are you specially deprived? No. It takes effort. Okay? Nobody can, in whatever family you're born, however highest caste, your parents are not going to grind it and put it in your mouth. Get this out of your head, right? Okay? There is no special privilege in this path. Really, there isn't. Okay? So I want to leave behind all this notion of caste and blah, blah, blah. Okay? It's not important. Okay? We're all starting from the same page. You all have equal access to this. Even though superficially you may think, oh, he learned Sanskrit. Well, nobody stood and put a bar against you and said, don't learn Sanskrit. Has anybody done that to any of you? No. Right? So, let us take any great accomplishment in your life that you're proud of, right? How did you get there? Effort and some luck, providence. Okay, call it what you will, right? There is luck also, right? Providence, effort, same thing, right? Correct? So I think we should get rid of this notion of what has happened in the past. Whether I missed the boat, I didn't get, just take it. When you chop vegetables and the remainder is there, you put it in the trash, put that in the trash. Okay. All you have important is this instant. What can you do at this instant? If at this instant you can channel yourself further down the path, you're done. That's it. If you make every instant like that a sequence, success is guaranteed. Yes or no? That's all there is to it. Right? So if you can set aside 1 hour a week, that's why I asked you, how much time can you set? Set aside 1 hour a week. Start right there, right? Set aside 1 hour a week. Go back, maybe you review the Gita or you watch a little bit of this video, something like that, right? Little by little by little, it is bound to happen. So get rid of this notion that I need to know X, I need to have been born in this family, I need to have had this. Not true. Not true. Okay, in the South, which is what I'm familiar with, we have many beautiful stories. We call them Charitra, Nandanar Charitram, Kannapar Charitram. These are examples of people who were born in so-called low-caste families. But Nandanar Charitram is very beautiful. He was a very great devotee of Lord Shiva. He would show up every day to the temple. The Dikshitars and others in the temple would constantly drive him away or not allow them inside and things like that. My mother used to tell me this story. Then one day he came and he used to get beatings at work also for coming to the temple because he's spending too much time not working hard enough in his master's place. And he prayed very fervently and came to the temple, but the Nandi was standing in the way. He could not get darshan of Shivji. So the legend goes, Nandi moved to allow his. Now, whether you believe practically it happened or not, at least metaphorically you can understand that when you make tremendous effort, other obstacles move out of the way, right? But whether you believe it or not, there are a very large number of people in South India who do believe this, okay? And hence, he is highly regarded as a saint, right? And at least the Brahmins at that time were so thunderstruck by this experience that they shut up. And they said, this person is a saint, right? He has been able to get the vision of the Lord, even though we derided him, we kept him out through our rules and all. Kannapar is another one. Avidhivat. His practice was very contrary to all other things. There are examples of people cutting meat and bringing them and giving them to the Lord. Or when the Shivling is bleeding, putting his foot on the Shivling so he knew where the eye was. And these stories are meant to evoke in you this point that I'm trying to make. That forget about all the baggage. Let's just devote yourself from this instant to the truth or the Lord, how you see it. That's all. So hopefully that will help. Another question. Whenever anybody feels deprived, I also encourage you to think of the story of Prahlad. What is Prahlad's story? Do you know the story of Prahlad? Oh, come on, Chaitas. No? Okay. Okay, who was Prahlad's father? Anybody? Prahlad's father? Hiranyakashipu, right? And Prahlad was born in Asura race, right? So, what was Hiranyakashipu's main thing to Prahlad? Main point of contention was, you should not repeat Vishnu's name in my presence. You think Vishnu is God? I don't think he's God, right? So, I ask you, has anybody put you in the fire for repeating the Lord's name? Has anybody tried to poison you, kill you? Nobody has done all that, okay? So if Prahlad could attain in spite of all those, I think we can attain, right? Nobody is actively at home tormenting you and telling you, don't do this. No one is doing that. So what excuse, you tell me, right? Doesn't it seem a bit ridiculous? So these Puranic stories are not just mythological. there's an essence, there's a point to take from it, right? I can imagine if somebody comes and says, my father will beat me if I say this word, he will actually kill me at the point of death, he'll put me in fire, then I can have some sympathy. But if you just say, oh, people call me this thing, that thing, and hence I'm not able to do it. Sorry, I'm really hard pressed to have much sympathy for that. Right? This is the truth. Okay, very good, very good, very good. All right, so now let us do a little exercise. So we have our, hopefully this will be fun. First, we will take some blank pages. Okay. Please pass them around. And I told you about this pranava, right? So you can draw a nice symbol of pranava as you know it, right? On this page, okay? And make it as big as you want. Why not? Right? Do the children know how to make? Yeah. How to write? Write it. Make it as beautiful as you can, and as big as you want on the page. You need something to keep on. You need something to keep underneath, right? Otherwise, it will sink into the carpet. Everybody made a nice one? Now Pranav will hand out the second sheet. So the instructions on the second sheet are self-evident. For those of you who are remote,
I'll email.
Let's see. I hope you have a plain sheet on which you can make pranava. And then we are handing around this sheet, which is a sheet of paper on which you are asked to write your name on top. Then below your name, you can describe your identity in the space. Include all aspects you feel are relevant. If you feel it's relevant what your nationality is, what your culture is, whatever you want. If you think it's your caste is relevant, you put that. If you think your religion is relevant, you put that. Whatever you think is relevant. Okay. Then there are two columns. Left, you put down your desires. What is it you want to see? Fill up as much as you feel is important. Then on the right column, it says things you wish to avoid. That things that you would not want to happen. Okay. Then again, left column, second row, aspects of yourself you consider as positive or good. What you think are your strengths. Then the other side, aspects of yourself you consider limiting, negative, or bad. Done, Chetas?
No.
Whoever is finished first, you can raise your hand. Then there's a craft section to this assignment. You done? Okay. Pranav, can you use the blue bottle? Now what I want you to do is stick the second page, you wrote all this, on top of the first page. Make sure it's nice and stuck.
The second one.
So you can read what you wrote.
Like this.
The stuff you wrote on the table should be on top, that you wrote on the table, right? And then, so you can read it, and now stick that on top of the, in order.
Wait.
So you have to apply
Can it
glue.
be opened like this?
Oh yeah, you can open it, whatever you want to do. Stick it somehow, affix it. Use the glue as you feel best to affix.
Is
one.
this supposed to be visible?
I leave it to you. It's an open-ended craft assignment. Very nice. See, now I'm understanding this flipped classroom. When we first started teaching, we used to give homework. And then we were told that in US, the excuse you will get is my dog ate the homework. Right? But now that we went to this electronic homework, there's no dog to eat the homework. But people say, was there a homework? So then they started this idea of let's do the homework in the class itself. That's called flipped classroom. You can give whoever wants the glue next after you're done, because I think there's only one glue stick.
Oh.
He's ready. You can use your creativity, how to affix one to the other. Keep them both face up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, face up. As you have written, one behind the other. Yes, sir.
I'm done.
You're done. You can do the same thing.
Oh.
Use the glue, and you can affix this page on top of the first page in whatever manner you deem most efficacious.
So just do it again.
Huh?
Just do it. What did you say?
This page on top of the first page.
Right.
This page on.
Oh,
And pass it on. The single glue stick has to make its tour.
This one goes on top.
Yes. What you have written? Yeah, this is the bottom. Just affix it. Huh? In the order you wrote. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Like you're making a book. Okay. 3 more people who have to glue, I think. Okay. All done? Everyone is done. Okay. Very good. Now pick up your booklet and just you're looking at this page, right? Can you see the Om? Can you? You can. Okay. How clearly can you see it? So obviously there is a instruction behind this, right? So all that you've written on top is obscuring what is behind. Yes or no? Do you agree? Right. Now of these, we can either keep them there or we can take them off. Right. Right. So now let's look at the ones aspects of yourself you consider limiting. I'll give you some common things that I see often. Right. One is I call a kind of false humility. This false humility says, I'll never have direct experience of God. Okay? I'll never see God. I'll never experience the truth directly. I'll never understand the Bhagavad Gita completely. Right? Would you put that in that category? Limiting. The limitation, right? So as long as that limitation is there, is it a setup for success or failure? Failure, right? So if you want to see the Om, what's the first thing you should do to that column? Huh? You can tear it. Okay, tear your page. You can tear that column, that little piece of limitations, just take it off. Okay, I'm going to give you two choices. You can either keep it on there or you can take it off. Okay, what do you want to do? You take it off. Just tear it off. All those things that you call your limitations, your bad things, your negativity, right? Take it off. False, this is all. So this false humility. I will never be able to do this, right? Another one is it's too painful for me to confront all the things that I have to do, right? So if I don't look at all the painful stuff, then life is easy, right? Right? There are some people who are willing to tear the bandages off, right? So what? Okay, right? Can you have that Paurusham, right? Correct? So what? I'll confront it, whatever it is. You can tear it off. Now, this is a symbolic thing. In the Vedic system, when we do a yajna, we offer this in the fire. This you put in the fire. What is the fire symbolic of? Fire of knowledge, right? Or if you cannot do it, you give it to the Guru. Okay, what does the Guru do with it? Guru has no interest in looking at it. He's going to put it in the fire. He is fire of knowledge himself, right? So there is a verse in the Mundaka Upanishad. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayat nasti akritam kritena tad vijnanatham gurumeva abhigachet samit panihi shrotriyam brahmanishtham. This is a very important verse from the Mundaka Upanishad. Let's understand it. Pariksha lokan, having examined all the worlds. Worlds is in plural. You only know one word now, Bhulokam, right? But I told you, Bhul, Bhuva, Swa, Mahajana, Tapa, Satya. 7 worlds. These great Brahmins, through their meditation, examined all the 7 worlds. Pariksha Lokan, Karma Chitan. They are made of karma. Karma is both action but also thought, because the root of action is in thought. Before the action, there was the word. Before the word, there was the thought. They say that thought is the father of the deed. Right? There's a reason for it. The thought must arise first. Having examined all these words that are merely product of thought, Nirvedamayat, let this Brahmin have the knowledge, Nirvedamayat, Nasti Akritam Kriti, that there is nothing in these 7 words that is not made of thought. Tad Vijnanartham. In order to know that, what is that? That's part under the first thing you drew under the page. To know that underlying reality, which is symbolized by pranava. Tad vijnanartha. Guru meva abhigachet. Let him go to a guru. Samit pani. Samid means the fire fuel sticks. Palasha, these kind of particular trees, those sticks are taken and put in the fire. That is why this yajna or homam is highly prized. Because it's a symbolic putting of your samskaras, your desires, your thoughts into this fire of knowledge. Tad Vijnana Guru Samit Pani, with these fire sticks in his hand, Shrotriyam. I told you what Shrotriya is already. Brahmanishtam. Right? So, by taking, at that point when it comes in life, that you take these all, and the person goes to the Guru and says, now instruct me in this knowledge, right? So it is symbolic, but this was also practical. It was a ritual. In every ashram where you go, the first job for the student is to go and fetch the fire sticks. It sounds like a stupid, ridiculous exercise. Why is going to bring in? But it is, you must be attuned to the symbolism. If you're not attuned to the symbolism, then people will come and tell you all kinds of things about Hinduism, that you worship monkey god, elephant god, and you'll have to sit and listen to that because you don't know any better. So if you want to know better, you must understand the symbolism. So you must go deep. You must know your dharma so well that nobody can say anything to you. Then you can stride the world like a colossus, right? Then nobody can give you any kind of nonsense about your religion. because you will understand the practices. Nobody can come and tell you, oh, you guys do all kinds of stupid stuff. You worship idols, things like that, right? At least for that reason, you should know. But there is a greater benefit, because when you know, then your life itself becomes aligned with that Sanatana Dharma, right? And it will then be productive of the Sarva Mangala Mangalyam, right? It will then be Mangalanam cha Mangalam, right? So now, this is a difficult and deep exercise. First part. So you're all happy. Is anybody unhappy to tear off the limitation? No, right? Nobody is unhappy. And now, harder one. This you have to ask in your heart. All that is good about you. You have some notion of your virtues. Okay? They are also covering part of the sheet. Are you willing to tear those off? No, that's fine. If you're not, you should accept it. It's good. You should know, I'm not willing to tear it off. Okay? That's fine. Okay. Next. What is the other column? Things that you wish to avoid. You have something in that column, right? Everybody has something you wish to avoid, right? Now, if you tear that off, then you have to be prepared if that happens to you. Right? Yes or no? Right? So, I'm not suggesting you do anything, but I'm just asking you to reflect and ask yourself, you put that there. If you were to tear it off, then you should be prepared if that happens to you to not be perturbed, right? So, wait, think about it. Right? You can think about this for a long time. Then things that you want to happen to you. If you tear it off, then if that thing doesn't happen to you, you shouldn't be perturbed about it, right? So think about it. Okay. Now you see how you have constructed. We have constructed this personality, right? Now let's go one further. Up there, your identity. Okay. You may think, whatever you may say, I am Sanatana Dharmi even, right? Are you willing to even dissolve that in the last analysis, right? And then your name, right? Who you are. If you can simply tear it, then you're done. Great. So I'll leave you with that. We're almost at time. What did you think of the exercise? That's all there is to it, right? So the question is, how stuck top page is to bottom page, and how willing one is to tear off each piece, right? And one has to be honest, right? Now, not everybody, right, can or should tear off all the pieces, right? This final act, the one who can tear everything off, this is called Viraj Homam. It's really reserved for sannyasis, okay? Because the mind has to be prepared, okay? One does not undertake it lightly, correct, right? But I recommend that at least the third quarter, fourth quarter, this one, the limitations, you should remove. That's all I think that is required, right? Those limitations are not good for you either in Gita class or in the real world, right? So that part should be removed. I think if that is there, it will be an impediment, an obstacle, whether in Gita class or in daily life. So, and this is what a lot of things they call negative self-talk in popular psychology, right? And you can pay large sums of money to go and sit with somebody and figure this out. And it is a useful thing, nevertheless, right? So that is my suggestion. Let us remove this. Yes.
How
Sure.
would removing the third quadrant help?
How would removing the third quadrant?
Yeah.
Which one?
The positive.
Good question. Very good question. Because it's obscuring. Isn't it not covering?
How does it obscure though?
Aren't you seeing it on the paper? It's covering part of your lower page.
For me, that's the only thing. Could I do a small one?
Well, there is, you must the smart student at the right point should let go of the literal, and you should know when to jump from literal to symbolic, symbolic to literal. Right? Now, this is a very difficult one for us to let go of. In the day-to-day world, definitely we want to keep our good qualities and think we have good qualities, etc. On the spiritual path, in front of your guru, there is no hope of trying to portray any good qualities. Because guru can see through the good qualities also. Right? In the end, those are also just our fantasies. Yes, good qualities are good to a point. Yes, they are better than bad qualities, but they are nevertheless impediments on the final path. Right? The notion that I am good is itself an impediment. Right? Yes.
Yes, it's also good is also relative. What
Of course.
you think is good could be bad for others.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. That's also true. Yes. So in that,
It's nothing that's good eternally, maybe at this stage.
yeah, in an absolute sense, yes, you're right. So absolutely right. Right. But nevertheless, we have to walk in both realms, right? There is also a day-to-day realm in which person functions, and there it's fine. We may have these notions, but when we step into the space of true understanding of the Gita and the desire to have the anubhava and to understand the truth, then this is absolutely there. Right? So provisionally, my only thing was take off the fourth quadrant, right? And then we will then proceed from there. What do you think? So then at least I will not hear from any of you saying, what is the one? I cannot do this. It's not possible for me, etc., etc. Right? All those have been removed. Do I have agreement? Sadhu? Yes? Yes. Yeah? I'm not hearing unanimous yes. I'm still here. Some people, no. Nobody wants to say yes. You don't want to say yes?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm hearing the same person say yes, yes, again and again.
Yes, yes.
Chetas,
Yes.
thank you. You pull one for the team. Good fellow. You see, you should go back and read the story of Ahalya. Okay, what did it mean that she was turned to stone? Right. If you don't respond to something I ask you, you are behaving like what? Like a stone. Are you a stone? No, you're not a stone. You're not a stone. So you have to respond. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We're getting the basics out here. Good. Okay, anyway, very nice. I'm glad it's bang on time. I'll say Swasti Mantra and then we'll meet again next time. Tachamyura vranimahe gatum yajnaya gatum yajnapataye daivihi swastirastu naham swastirmanushebhyah urdhvam jigatu bheshajam shanno astu dvipadehi sham chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So my suggestion is don't throw away your paper. We will use it in future assignments. So save it and I'll ask you at some point further down the line to revisit it. I'm very glad you could come. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the meeting.